All right, everybody, welcome to you on this beautiful evening. As you can tell, back in the Palatial Studios. So we're coming to you tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, all of our wonderful family over there at Integrity Television. Here's what Integrity Television needs. Integrity Television needs to pave the way for an upgraded way so the folks that are watching on Integrity Television can talk to me like Facebook and YouTube with the chat. So we've got to get innovative and get everybody talking from the Integrity Television side. That way we can just throw all these chats up here and have an awesome time together. So welcome Facebook, welcome YouTube, and welcome to our wonderful Integrity Television family. Tonight is going to be awesome. Really excited about tonight. Pastor Kerry Dyer Sr., I do see you there. Evening to you, sir. Sorry you got skunked hunting. I did hear about that. I'm not going to get skunked come November. I'm going to, in the name of Jesus, kill a monster buck. How about that? Am I allowed to say that? Does Jesus care about me killing a big buck? I think so. Good evening to you, my friend Rick Powers. God bless you and everyone that is in here. So as you can tell, we have made it back to Pennsylvania from the Adventures with Granny. So I'm here to report to you tonight that Granny is still kicking. Granny is still kicking. Good evening to you guys. I see you all. There's Shirley Leventree checking in from the great state of Mississippi. Ann Hockett, God bless you. Judy Roberts, yes, we're all back safe. I do not know how I'm functioning, but I'm functioning, so everything is good. We left, let's see. Yeah, it's the process that counts. That's true, but I'll still take the monster buck. So we left Oklahoma City to come back yesterday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We pulled into Greenville, Pennsylvania this morning at 10:30 a.m. So that's what, 18 and a half hours. It was 1,195 miles. Good evening to you, Ro Gammon, checking in from beautiful Midlothian, Virginia. Mark Rambo, evening back at you, my friend. Holly Chenault Terry, down. She's multitasking, listening to some Border Ride Bluegrass and watching the program. So it's going to be a great night, but we made it back. It was a long drive with my father, my mother, and my aunt. You know, so funny. Left at 4 p.m. yesterday, drove back. You know, I'm leaving Oklahoma City, heading out on the turnpike to Tulsa, and I'm sitting there going in my own head, oh boy, I got a long way to go. And I just kept driving, and I brought her on in. But here's what's so funny. Every hour or so, they would wake up from their snoring. My father snoring, my mother snoring, and my aunt snoring. And the vehicle was so loaded down with stuff coming back, it's like the muffler was dragging the ground coming back. We were cruising. I had the hammer down, running a little ways, running on the edge of approved speed limits. And every hour or so, they would wake up from their slumber and drool running down their face and go, hey, boy, you want me drive an hour? Nah, I think I got it. My mother in the back, hey, I can drive. Don't think so. My aunt pulling herself up out of the floorboard, out of a dead sleep. Greg, I can drive. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So I hit an energy drink. Actually, it was them triple shot Starbucks coffees every 3 hours, and we brought it on in. So it was good, and we're thankful. Kim Porter checking in from the state of North Carolina. Lynn and Mary Fireball requesting prayer for John and Lynn Fireball in Chester, Virginia. And I also saw Lynn in here in the YouTube chat. So John and Lynn will be praying for you guys down there in beautiful state of Virginia. Buddy Wilson, welcome to the program. Good evening, Pastor. Some of us from the church are watching from the Pennsylvania mountains. Well, greetings to the Pennsylvania mountains, fellas. Going to be an awesome time. So anyway, guys, for the update, Granny's health is 50-50, 87 years old. As you know, she was a guest on this show about a year ago and told us how it is. Yes. Remember what Granny said? I'm going to pull that video clip and show it maybe Tuesday. She says, we're living in perilous times. So Granny is doing, she's a 50-50. Good days, bad days, ups, downs, and getting some pretty good care there where she's at. And of course, as all families have to make decisions and figure out what they're going to do on the next steps. So that would be my advice for you tonight as we begin the program. Make sure you have your end days planned. Of course, we're expecting Jesus to come back tomorrow. We're looking at Ezekiel 38. I got some stuff on that tonight. Iran and Israel getting at it again. It's going to be interesting. But if the Lord should tarry, make sure that your affairs are in order. And it's a really big blessing for your family. Yeah, Janet Smith, she goes, I remember her. What a sweetheart. And Lynn Fireball, thank you for all the prayers for John. I am with you, and he is trying to sleep. Well, we'll let John watch the replay, and God bless all of you guys tonight. So, folks, tonight's going to be awesome. We've got a beverage of the night coming in tonight from my niece, Lainey Terry, picked up at the Tops on Route 66, just outside of Oklahoma City. Now, this one I'm looking forward to.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to witness is not only exciting and educational, but sometimes a bit risky as well. Do not try this at home. It's time for the beverage of the night.
Folks, coming in on the beverage of the night tonight, I'm just excited. As you know, my other niece, she pretty much tried to burn my esophagus out and about accomplished it. But my other niece, Lainey, says, Uncle Greg, I'm going to take care of you. So, folks, new original Bazooka bubblegum flavored soda. Now, here's the problem. Let me tell you something. On Tuesday night, my brother sent in a snack of the night, but he is out tonight and unable to watch live. So we're going to move this to Tuesday night. My brother has given me a Bean Boozled Fiery 5. That is going to be Tuesday night. How hot can you handle? I'm only doing it because my brother challenged me. That'll be on Tuesday night. But tonight, Bazooka. I'm looking forward to this one. Let's pop the top. Woo! Come on, Bazooka. You've got to come through for me. You've got to come through. Well, it's not burning my throat out. You guys ever chewed gum like Bazooka back in the day, had the cartoon, and then kind of let the saliva gather in your mouth and then you swallow it? Folks, that is basically, yeah, that ain't no good either. Folks, I'm done with this junk. It's time to get into what we're doing tonight. It's going to be awesome. Lainey, thank you for my Bazooka. I'll get it down for you. It's actually not too bad. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Here we go. Gonna be good. Folks, I'm really excited to share some of the stuff that I have with you tonight. If you were able to see the Facebook announcement there, we're about 3 hours before we go live. We run the theme of the night and run run the advertisement. You saw tonight that we're going to be talking about the Joseph strategy. And very interesting. We've been dealing with Ezekiel 38, the coming Gog-Magog war. I've tried to teach you very clearly that's going to be an economic purpose to the war. Tonight we're going to look at some more of the reasons that are just lining up for these things to come to pass. We're going to look at some things that are happening overseas right now, as well as in the United States. But I'm here to tell you tonight, things are lining up very, very, very well. And it's just going to be very interesting what we see over the next few months. Ronald Leon Vandevander checking in from Richmond, Virginia. Welcome to you, my friend. Rita Faye Berryman. Rick Barry, does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Folks, I'm going to have to get Rick Barry in here as a guest because you guys need to see this legend. He's the #1 commentator of pure energy, excitement, and fun. I've got to introduce you to Rick Barry. Folks, tonight, let's start with a smile. I've got a question for you. As a kid, did you ever knock on a door and run away before someone came to answer the door? That's a question for you. As a kid, did you ever knock on a door and run away quickly before someone came to answer the door? I can remember growing up in Richmond, Virginia as a young fellow there, and we had some pretty bad influences. One of them, his name was Donnie Phelps. And Mike Williams. Mike Williams played linebacker for the University of Virginia football, went on to play a little bit for the Broncos. And these guys taught me how to do tile work. We all worked together with a company there in Richmond. I was the young kid, and these guys were all, college age, et cetera, et cetera. But they were very, very good influences on me. We did not do the door, knock on the door and run, but I will tell you this. In the 80s, they were a bad influence on me because what we would do, they were building a new overpass right down from our house. So we would be out doing tile work, and we loved to play golf and fish. So we would work like half a day, and then we would all run away. I mean, their dad owned the company. So we'd all run away and go play golf or go fishing. Well, we always had fishing poles in the back. So I don't even know if I can tell y'all this, but I will. We would actually kill squirrels, climb up on the overpass, tie the dead squirrel to a fishing pole, and when cars would come down the road, we would drop it on their windshield and then wheel it up really fast. Does that count as knocking on the door and running? Because basically we were knocking on the windshield with a dead squirrel and running. John McElvey, welcome to the program from Alabama. David Latshaw, good evening all. Rainwater Games, checking in from the state of Washington. Politics is stressing me out, Greg. I'm so worried about many things. Rainwater, let me tell you something, my dear friend. You have no reason to worry because Jesus is still on the throne, the King of Kings. We just got to know what's going on and prepare ourselves for it. No reason to worry. I think it says in the Bible, what can worry do for you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So all of us probably have knocked on the door and ran or dropped squirrels on cars and ran. So if you have done that, I've got good news for you. UPS, FedEx, and the United States Postal Service are hiring. They are struggling to have employees to run deliveries at the Postal Service, the FedEx, and the UPS. Therefore, if you have always enjoyed running up to a door, ringing the doorbell, and running away before people answer, maybe you need to go get a job at UPS, FedEx, or USPS, and you can have all the fun that you want in your life. Folks, how about a reoccurring theme? I've been telling you that this Ezekiel 38 war that we're looking at in the future, Rainwater, you don't have to be worried about it. Jesus is on the throne, but these things must come to pass. This is the world in which we are living. So Lebanon I've been telling you is going to be a major player in this deal. The reason being is because Lebanon is directly on the northern border, and Hezbollah, the terrorist organization, runs Lebanon. They're running it into the ground on purpose so that Iran can come in more and more and more. It's obviously clear, but unfortunately, our foreign policy folks up there in D.C. do not see that. But it's very clear, very obvious. Lebanon is falling into complete anarchy. It's a mess. It's a disaster. No power, no water, no food. And the only way the resources are coming in are from Iran through Hezbollah. Well, today, the United Nations came out and says, listen, world, pay attention. Lebanon is in big, big trouble. Take a look at this couple of minutes about what's going on in Lebanon and be reminded this is what's sitting right on the northern border of Israel.
Coping with inflation and a currency in free fall has made life tough. People have sunk into poverty since the economy began to collapse 2 years ago. The United Nations says nearly 80% are now poor. That's 3 million people.
My monthly salary is now worth $70. It's not enough to buy food for 4 days. The government has been promising to give us cash assistance, but it never happened.
The humanitarian community has stepped in to provide vital support in a country made nearly bankrupt by decades of corruption and mismanagement. United Nations statistics tell the story of growing hardships, like 1 million people in urgent need of aid, including food.
For the first time ever in the history of Lebanon, you have 36% of extreme poverty. You know, extreme poverty is not anything. It's really something that never happened, never ever happened in Lebanon before.
It's not only Lebanese who have been affected by the economic crisis. The living conditions of 850,000 Syrians registered as refugees by the UN are rapidly deteriorating. A year ago, just over half lived in extreme poverty. Now it's 9 out of 10. Nearly 50% don't have enough food. 30% of children have never gone to school, and almost 30,000 work. Levels of poverty are also high in Palestinian refugee camps, and at least 400,000 migrant workers, mainly from Asian and African countries, are stranded here without work nor the means to return home. Many parents can't afford to send their children to school, and growing numbers of people are unable to afford health care. Starvation is now a reality for thousands, and malnutrition is increasing among children. The international community accuses Lebanon's political class of deliberately failing to act and defending what members say is a bankrupt economic system. That's why Lebanon's authorities are bypassed when assistance is provided. And they say they'll continue until state institutions riddled with corruption are reformed.
Most of the support that we are going to provide through the ERP is also going to be direct to the population.
But many say this help is not a long-term answer, and emergency aid is not the economic recovery plan Lebanon needs. That will depend on its leaders letting go of a system they have benefited from for so long. Zana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
So, folks, you can see that Lebanon is in a complete crisis. Did you hear the one lady right at the beginning? She makes $70 to $80 a month. Now, let's talk about inflation. She said that's enough money to buy food for 4 days. Now, you guys know as well as I know that there are 30 days in a month, 28, 1, 31, 29. Let's just say 30. 30 days in a month, she can buy enough food for 4 days. Lebanon is in a crisis, and Iran is taking advantage of it. And I'm telling you, it's because of what is coming down the pike and what is biblical. Mary Fireball has given us a wonderful word of encouragement tonight. Rainwater, listen to this. Worry is like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but takes you nowhere. Now, brother, out there in Washington, that is a 90-year-old lady full of wisdom helping you out tonight. Just remember, your worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but nowhere to go. Nathan Wright, welcome. Ted Link, welcome. And Rainwater, yep, $70 a month. Folks, $70 a month is a lot. Where I work in Africa, they make $1 a day, maybe. $1 a day. Maybe. Folks, this is what we're dealing with right now. And unfortunately, America, we've lost our leadership voice in the world. Now, I want to tag on to that now because we're going to start there and then we're going to come back to America and then we're going to end with the Joseph strategy tonight. You're really going to enjoy that. So, Israel. Speaker of the House Harris man, I hit the wrong button. Speaker of the House, no, not Speaker of the House. That's Pelosi. Harris, VP. No, she's not the VP. Jen Psaki's the vice president. Oh, yeah, she's the White House press secretary, Kamala Harris. Oh, I think I meant this sound effect. No, oh, man, I don't know where the right sound effects are tonight. All I've got is booze. Oh, my goodness. Kamala Harris was at George Mason University having a conversation with George Mason students. Now, you may have seen this, probably have. It's went fairly viral. But I will not even give it 30 seconds on this hour program to even let those words ring out again. But let me tell you what happened. This student from George Mason, which is in Virginia, started discussing Israel. And you could hear vitriol hatred come out of this young lady about Israel. She accused them of being butchers and terrorists and, destroying the Palestinian way of life and being, warlords and just trash. And Harris, Vice President Harris, made this statement: your truth cannot be suppressed. Folks, the last time that I read the Bible, it says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when you are listening to our leaders or things happening around the world, what they're saying is coming out of their heart. Now, immediately, her team had to go into damage control. Many articles and many talks about the damage control, that she didn't mean to say that, et cetera, baloney. It came right out of her mouth, and you could hear the directness in her statement. Your truth cannot be suppressed, young lady. Let me explain that to you. That means that the Vice President of the United States believes that Israel is basically the enemy. I'm just going to call it like it is. If you want to go to YouTube and type in and watch that video, I will not give it time on my program. I'm not going to listen to that vitriol mess again. But basically, the Vice President of the United States is definitely anti-Israel. So what's happening now, the Iranian Foreign Minister, FM, the spokesman, he came out and says, let's make no mistake about it, the war with Israel has already started. We are already at war with Israel. Folks, Ezekiel 38, I'm telling you. I told you the Taliban will wipe out Afghanistan. I'm telling you Lebanon is going to be a major player in this. And right here, out of their own mouth, Israel or Iran is saying, we're already at war. And I've been sharing with you every Tuesday and Friday where Israel and the leaders of Israel are saying, listen, make no mistake about it. If we have to stand alone, we will stand alone against this Iranian regime. Folks, this stuff is unfolding before our eyes. Now, I want to show you one more thing that you may not know. And then I'm going to give you a map that's very interesting. The last couple of days, Iran has begun holding war games directly on the Azerbaijan border. Now, most of you in here, and this is not meant disrespectful at all, but most folks do not know where Azerbaijan is. Now, or even pay attention to it. You'd look at this and go, oh, well, who cares? It's Azerbaijan, who cares? I don't even know where Azerbaijan is. Let me explain something to you about Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a very, very important country. It's full of resources. The capital of Azerbaijan is Baku. That capital is located on the Caspian Sea that has direct water access to come into Iran, directly into Tehran. Very important strategic nation. Now, here's the problem. Maybe you know, maybe you do not know. Azerbaijan is an ally with Israel. Let me repeat that for you. Azerbaijan is an ally with Israel. And the last couple of days, Iran has been holding their war games right on the border. They've been doing drills. They've been rolling tanks, airplanes, dropping bombs. Listen, all they're doing is flexing on the border of Azerbaijan. That's correct, John McElvey. It is a port. So here you have Lebanon going into crisis. Now you have further crisis. You have Vice President Harris, obviously, absolutely anti-Israel. No question. Let's call it like it is. Now you have Iran saying, make no mistake about it, we're already at war with Israel. And you have Israel saying, make no mistake about it, if we need to fight you alone, we will do it. Now, Iran, was it saber rattling or flexing right on the Azerbaijan border? Now, let me show you a map, okay? I'm going to bring this in a little closer for you guys to see, and I'll talk over top of it. Check this out. If you look up at the top, you see Azerbaijan. It is the nation that is directly north of Iran. To the right of that, you see the Caspian Sea. I drew that circle with that down arrow. Baku is a port. Direct access into Tehran or just north of Tehran. The nation to the left of Azerbaijan is Armenia. Armenia is a Christian nation. In fact, Armenia is one of the oldest Christian nations in the world. So you see Azerbaijan circled in red. You see Iran circled in red. You see Israel down at the left circled in red. I drew a couple of green lines. I circled Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran. Forget Afghanistan and all those to the right. Just look at that. That is a direct pinch. It's so easy to see. Come on, folks. It's a pinch. You've got Israel up on the south side. You've got Azerbaijan on the north side. Who's pinched in the middle? Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Turkey. Armenia will be allies with Azerbaijan and Israel. Absolutely. I mean, they don't have any military, but they will not stand with Iran. So Iran starts flexing. Why? Because they can see that Israel's ally is on the north and could pinch them down pretty good. So it is very interesting. You're right, Rick Barry. Azerbaijan does not have military power, but Israel does. So it's very, very strategic place. Now, Rick, I know you're also saying that if Iran was to invade Azerbaijan, that Azerbaijan couldn't stop them. That's correct. But Israel could. America won't. We're led by weakness right now. But Israel would. Are you seeing the precursor of Gog Magog, Ezekiel 38? I don't know about you, but I am. It's obvious. Now, let's jump back across the United States now, because I'm leading us up to the Joseph strategy. I'm just going to call this one like it is, and I'm going to call a moratorium. You are right, Energy Center. Erdogan, who's Turkey, and Putin, not happy with our government, too, wanting a refund. That is correct. Listen, this is so obvious. Hopefully this is being pumped into the White House so they can learn. Now, folks, I want to talk a little bit, and I have to be careful here because many of you sent me messages, and I also know I've seen where YouTube is aggressively taking down folks if they talk about the pandemic that's going on right now. You know, and don't be worried about this. This is just computer technology, no problem. But the bots, the computers, they listen, they know all the words, the keywords, and they'll take you off the air. So I'm going to be very wise here, and I'm not going to mention the word that you see on the screen there because I don't want to be taken down. I want to be able to get the message out. So I'm going to rename it Charlie 20-1. Y'all got it? Charlie 20-1. Charlie stands for that third letter of the alphabet. And 20-1, we all went to school, learned our arithmetic. Now, everybody in here has a different opinion, and that's fine. Remember, I'm not right, left, or middle. I'm Bible. Okay? Bible. Looking for truth. I'm a Ronald Reaganite. You know, that's where I stand. But I'm not here on a soapbox for anybody. I'm here on a soapbox for Jesus. Here on a soapbox that the Bible should be our guide. So I know that in this program, we have lots of people that watch live and later. You have different viewpoints on Charlie 20-1. I do not allow conspiracy theories. I debunk them as fast as I can. Can't stand them. It's just a disaster. And the Christian church has been the one that's leading the way with conspiracy theories. I'm not talking about that. But I do tonight want to talk about freedom. I want to talk about what makes America great. I want to talk about what our country was founded on. You guys know I had a really good dose of Charlie 20-1. I was ill for 3 months. I've told you because I don't care if you know. I've been vaccinated. I'm not anti. I do not believe in any of the conspiracy theories. Zero. I have spoken with many, many doctors whom I trust and very high-level pharmacy and directors of pharmacology. We've got a friend that's a director of pharmacology at one of the institutions where one of the vaccines was developed. So that's where I stand, but that's not a surprise for you. But with that said, you have a right to believe and lead your family with your doctor the way you choose. Okay? So I think that's fair. It's America. I am 100% against any government mandate, period. Oh, I found the cheer button. No way should a government dictate health care, period. That should be a family decision with your doctor and your family, period. You cannot have poor leadership mandating. And now I'm going to tell you why. So up here right now, there is a battle going on. There is a Senate bill going through that would require, or attempting to be pushed through. Now listen, that would require domestic airline travelers to provide Charlie 20-1 vaccination proof. No. And you guys hang on with me because I've been vaccinated. Just hang on with me. No. White House pressing U.S. airlines to quickly mandate vaccines, not only for employees, but for flyers. No. Governor Newsom, whom you Californians, of which I am a former one, Energy Center, there you are, you Californian. Governor Newsom won the recall and continues on as the governor-in-chief of the Communist Socialist State of California. He announces today that California is going to be the first state to require Charlie 20-1 vaccinations for K through 12 students. How's that one sitting on your energy center? Pastor Sam Winters in the house tonight. Here's my answer for that. No. Now, folks, I want to tell you why, okay? Please give me 1 minute with this one. I want to tell you why. Number one, freedom. Number two, government doesn't mandate health care. That's between a family and a doctor. But those aren't my big reasons. I've got a bigger reason. You see, it comes down to poor leadership. And this is why, in a few moments, we're going to be talking about the Joseph strategy. This is poor leadership on local, regional, state, and federal levels. It is a failure in leadership, period. When there is no leadership, people will wander around lost. They will wander around blind. Mary Preston, you beautiful Californian. She says, I'm watching, and I'm a Californian. Folks, here's my major problem. We are going to allow federal mandates on air travelers, on employees of workplaces. We're going to allow a governor to mandate for our children. And this comes while at the very same time, this is what's happening. That's the border right now on Texas, in Texas. There's no talk of Charlie 20-1 there. There's no talk of vaccinations there. There's no talk of anything there. I don't see a mask in sight. What's up? But we're going to mandate for a flyer or an employee or a kid in the 4th grade? And we're going to let that happen? Oh, let me take it a step further. And folks, my boycott of football is over. Remember last year, we called for the boycott on the NFL and college football. While at the same time, this was the University of Nebraska football game. 95,000 people in a salad bowl, 100 yards wide, 50 yards, or 100 yards long, 50 yards wide. Now remember, I'm just painting a picture of normalcy here. We're going to allow governors to mandate for 4th graders, presidents to mandate for travelers and businesses, while we allow our border to be out of control and no mention of Charlie 20-1, and our football stadiums, people to be lathered up, sweating, licking on each other, sharing drinks. I don't get it. And I'm telling you from a guy who had it for 3 months, and I've been vaccinated. No problem. For me, you make your own decision. But this is failed leadership in our country on every level. And I'm telling you, if we had good leadership, our nation would be thriving right now, not trying to survive. It is obvious, it is clear, and folks, we need the Joseph strategy. It's coming up. Folks, right now, we're seeing shortages of everything. I want to show you something tonight, and I think you'll enjoy this, but I want to teach you, before we get into the Joseph principle or the Joseph strategy, the word supply chain. So, as you guys know, we were coming back from Oklahoma City last night. I got in about a 2-hour nap, and then had to get up and get prepared for the program. I will sleep tonight, no problem. Makes no sense. Exactly. It's just easy to see what's going on. Right now, we're dealing with shortages of everything. Now, between one of my father's drool fests last night, because every 2 hours or so, I would whip into a gas station real quick off the freeway, grab another drink, and keep rolling. And my dad woke up for one. This is like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And he jumps out of the car with me because I'm running in to use the restroom, grab me another coffee, and keep driving. My dad jumps out of the car and goes, "Get up, girls, we've stopped. I'm going to go get you a coffee." I said, "Dad, get in the car and sit down. Nobody gets a coffee but me. You guys go back to sleep. If you need to use the restroom, get a catheter. No, I'm not unloading you. We're getting home." They stayed in the car. I mean, they just drooling. So he couldn't help himself. He jumped out and ran into the store with me. Folks, I don't remember where we were. It would have been in Illinois. Yeah, it was in Illinois right before we were going into Indiana, 3 in the morning. We pulled into a beautiful truck stop. I mean, a well-known chain, like Flying J, Pilot, Loves, whatever. I don't remember which one. They're great companies, no problem. But folks, when we walked in that store last night, I barely could find a coffee. Used the restroom. It was filthy. Came back out, and my dad goes, "Did you see that place?" I said, "Yeah." And this was before he fell back into his coma. "There's nothing in there to buy." I said, "Dad, there's nothing." I mean, nothing. It was unbelievable. So what we're having is a supply chain issue. I want to talk to you about that and educate you, because this is leading us right to the Joseph strategy. There's shortages of everything, why it's happening, and why it will not end anytime soon. You see the graphic I have there for you. You have an information flow, and you have a cash flow. So you see the graphic. Look at the top. You see the truck. You see the producer. You see the customer. So a supplier sends goods to a producer, like raw materials. The producer creates the whatever, the candy bar, the drink, the automobile part, sends it to the store to ultimately get to the customer. Now, look below that. The customer then sends cash flow back to the producer, and the producer sends cash back to the supplier. This is called supply chain. You also have a circle of flow on the finance. So if the customer has nothing to purchase, there's no money going back to the producer. There's no money going back to the supplier. If the supplier has no cash flow, well, then they stop their supplies. They've not been paid. Then the producer, do you see the circle of flow? This is called the supply chain. I have a little video clip I want you to check out about. I think you will enjoy this. It's 3 or 4 minutes long, but let's learn something about the supply chain.
Supply chain. It's a term many of us never thought of before March of 2020. We did, however, enjoy getting what we wanted when we wanted it. The pandemic changed all that.
There's no automaker that has not been hindered in some way, shape, or form when it comes to sales, because they just simply have no inventory.
Whatever becomes the hot toy of the season in the next month or two may not be there in huge quantities.
Some of the worst backups happening in what's called durable goods, appliances, laptops, furniture. That's because the pandemic changed spending habits.
People said, well, if I can't go on vacation, I'll get a bicycle, or I'll repaint the house, put in new curtains. And then they found paint was on back order, curtains were on back order, because so many people were trying to buy these durable goods that everybody else wanted.
Many businesses also cut back at the outset, expecting a major slowdown in sales.
And then come summer of last year, consumer spending was there, and all these businesses tried to turn around real fast, but it's hard to turn around real fast.
And then, according to economic consultant Bill Connerly, came the perfect storm.
The Suez Canal got clogged. A couple of the seaports in China were closed because of COVID. The hurricane took down natural gas production, which is a feedstock for a lot of chemicals.
Still, Connerly says the biggest overall interruption came in the workforce.
The shortage of workers is common all around the country. And as a result, businesses that want to increase their production, want to serve their customers better, want to stock up on inventory, they cannot find the workers.
This affects each level of the domestic supply chain, from factories to the trucking industry to distribution centers. And international goods can't get here because of a major backup at our ports, shipping containers waiting to unload for up to 8 days, due in part to labor shortages at docks.
There are more than 100 ships anchored off the coast as far as the eye could see.
Experts and businesses alike don't see this ending until 2022. For some industries, that's meant shutdowns. GM, Toyota, and Nissan have all paused production because of a shortage of computer semiconductor chips used in a large number of car parts.
This start-stop situation where it's like the lines come back on, they get shuttered back again. Some automakers, they're reworking their vehicles to have fewer chips. Certain options aren't even being offered, but it's not been enough to actually, completely curb all of the issues.
Other industries are forced to pay up to 3 times more for supplies than in the past, and still barely get enough to keep the doors open. Oakley Monument Company has seen a major surge in business due to COVID-related deaths, but grieving customers are waiting months for memorials.
We're lucky if we're able to get a quarter of what we need for our orders once a month. Stuff that used to cost us $9,000 to get shipped is up anywhere in the 20,000s just to get it shipped here. And then they also tack on a tariff as well.
Alignable, a small business network, is helping companies pivot. A major step forward has been simply connecting business owners to others in their industry.
We actually have created groups so an industry can come together and share ideas. So we'll have an industry group just for florists, and they can actually share ideas with each other about, where are they looking to get supplies, how are they filling part-time roles at their companies, and things like that.
That way of thinking allowed Mark Patterson, co-founder of Civilized Coffee, to get around some of his supply chain issues.
What we've been doing is buying larger lots, full containers of coffee, bringing them back to our warehouse. And then we've just said, reach out to us, and we have a lot of relationships where we can sell out smaller lots to these smaller roasters around the country.
Meanwhile, consumers are feeling the result of all this in their wallets.
The classic definition of inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. We've got a lot of dollars that people are trying to spend. We have not increased our production capacity.
Connerly predicts this could lead to a boom-bust economy similar to the late 60s and 1970s. Simply put, that would mean high inflation followed by a tightening of monetary policy by the Federal Reserve, resulting in a recession. Then they would hit the gas again, causing more inflation. Connerly's advice to businesses comes straight from the Old Testament.
There's this old dream that the Pharaoh had, and Joseph said, you need to use the good years to prepare for the bad years. And that applies to business today. They need to take advantage of the good years while they're here, but they need to be ready for the bad years because we're going to have a couple of recessions, I think, in the next 5-10 years.
With the holiday season upon us, experts say retailers are doing their best to prepare for the rush, but there's only so much they'll be able to do to keep their shelves stocked. So whether you typically are an early shopper or you prefer to do it last minute, now is the time to start marking items off your list. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
So folks, there you have it. A couple of interesting things that I thought would be interesting to share with you tonight was you can see the whole big picture, the supply chain, how it functions, but there was a couple of things that I took away from that. Number one, that one new company that has come about to try to help people that are in similar fields connect to each other. Isn't it interesting that when our government fails, the wonderful people of America figure out a way? That's called good leadership. The other thing was you had the coffee company. He says, listen, what we can do, we're trying to find it in bulk, and then we can help other companies. That's what makes America great. And that is the answer for getting out of this mess. But instead of seeing that, this is what we're seeing. Gas pumps still dry. Britain is bringing in the army, and America is already talking about doing that. And if that happens, people are going to lose their minds. But in Washington, all our leaders can do are point fingers at each other. White House slams GOP House for no real courage as Democrats clash over Biden's socialist spending bill. So basically what we have in Washington, D.C. right now is a completely fractured system. It is way beyond fractured that we experienced during the election time and after the election between Trump and Biden. Now it's even on steroids because even the Democratic Party has so fractured and divided between the liberals and the progressives and the moderates and the communists like AOC. They've completely lost any sense of unity. So basically, we have chaos, and what that points us back to is no leadership. Pastor Kathy C., God bless you. It's nice to see you in here. Robin Branch, God bless you. Rainwater Games, are you still here? If you're still here, I'll answer that question for you. So buzz me in the chat if you're still in the program. So folks, you saw at the end of that clip where the gentleman started talking about an example of Joseph. That got me to thinking this afternoon. Right now, not thinking about Iran, Israel, although I'm going to continue to teach you that the purpose of that battle, one of the major forces behind that battle is going to be economic problems. That's why the nations are coming against Israel to plunder them. That's clear. But I don't even want to talk about it that way right now. I just want to talk about supply chain and economics. And I started thinking about that, and I wonder what Joseph would do. Very gifted leader appointed by God. I wonder what Joseph would do. Definitely not this. The United States, one of the liberal publications, USA Today, has absolutely turned on Joe Biden. What happened to Honest Joe? President Joe Biden's promises are turning into lies. That's not Fox or Newsmax. That's USA Today. Folks, that pushes me to the Joseph strategy. Joseph was a phenomenal leader. You see that picture there of Joseph. He's all in his Egyptian gear, looking good. I want to read a scripture to you, and then I want to give you what I think is the Joseph strategy or the Joseph principle. Check this out. You know that Pharaoh had a dream, and Pharaoh couldn't... why is my microphone coming out of the screen? Stephen Haywood, where are you at when I need you? Pharaoh had the dream, couldn't figure it out, went to the magicians, the sorcerers, nobody. But there was this young guy in prison that God had worked through, and his days were ordered, his steps were ordered by the Lord for such a time as this. So reading here, I'll highlight it for you. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Joseph's answer, I cannot do it. Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. God was going to speak truth into Pharaoh. Pharaoh was evil. Pharaoh thought that he was a god. Evidently, he understood he was not, and he came to Joseph. God was going to speak to Pharaoh. You know, Joseph's strategy, God loves people. God doesn't want people to suffer. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile when out of the river there came up seven cows, fat and sleek, and grazed among the reeds. Let me highlight a little bit more for you here. After them, 7 other cows came up, scrawny and very ugly, lean. I had never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. The lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first. But even after they ate them, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, Pharaoh said, I saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered and thin, scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none of them could explain it to me. A little bit more for you. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God, pay attention, God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are also 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. You know, it's interesting right there. We could talk about dreams. If God repeats himself, evidently, it's right here in the Word of God, in the book of Genesis. If God repeats himself, it's a done deal. Verse 33, and now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of all the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. The plan seemed good to Pharaoh, to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. Folks, very simple. The Joseph strategy is God must be in our decisions. You see, it wasn't Joseph's plan. It was God's plan. You know, so many times people think, oh, Joseph was so smart. Joseph was gifted. Joseph did all this. No. Remember, do not read faster, read slower. It wasn't Joseph's plan at all. What is the Joseph strategy? The Joseph strategy is simple. The Joseph strategy is divine strategy. The scripture is very clear that we are to seek the Lord with all of our heart, that we are to gain understanding and wisdom from him. And then when we move out and we move into things that God has for us, he receives the glory because it was not our plan, but it was his plan. You see, God's plan came to fruition through Joseph. The land was saved through Joseph, but it was the plan of God, and God received the glory. Right now, our world is in chaos. We have no leadership in our country. Nations are battling against nations. Israel and Iran are teetering. Lebanon is getting ready to fall. We have a supply chain crisis going on. And the only thing that will work, I promise you, is a divine strategy from the King of Glory. The only thing that will work is a divine revelation of what God has destined for us and how we are to walk. So my dear friends, the Joseph strategy, actually, you figured it out. It's not about Joseph at all. He was just a willing vessel. may you and I also be willing vessels for the King of Glory. Folks, it's been an awesome night tonight. Be blessed. We love you. Good night.